Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. How's everyone doing today? Welcome on into the Dragon's Den. Let's see, I see Creatix Brett out there shaking her squirrely butts. We got Da Vinci, Shenanigans. Afternoon, Pez Liz. How are you doing today? Doing well. Got my coffee, and we're ready to rock and roll. We'll go for a little while tonight. Won't be too late, simply because my son rolled into town tonight. So we're gonna try and hang out some tonight and relax a little bit. How's it going, Kit Skyfire? Welcome on in. Welcome on in. Doing good, Shenanigans. The eyes are doing well. I did just right before stream go in and put some I don't know what you call them, clear eyes, liquid tears, whatever, to kind of help them out some, since I have lights in my face and things. So other than that, the day is going pretty darn well. Pretty darn well. Almost close to Friday, and that's going to be the last day. My laptop's going to stay shut. No more work, and we'll be good. We will be good. So tonight, the plan is to continue to work on completing the Z-axis and then the bed mount for the Annex Engineering K3. So if you all remember where we left off, we had the frame built, the Core XY kinematic, or the Core XY, the Cross XY kinematic system built. We had our carabiner just sitting on there. We were going to build our Sherpa Mini. I do have everything here to build the Sherpa Mini, so we might jump over and do that as well today. There was one other thing when I got to thinking about it, is I did want to put the trad rack tool changer, or not tool changer, excuse me, multi-material unit. I wanted to install my trad rack on this build, and in order to do that, I need a filament runout sensor as close to the tool head as possible. So there is a version of the Sherpa Mini and the Sherpa Micro that adds an end stop right next to the guidler arm, so that you can trigger the end stop and know when you have filament run out. So I did print off those parts today as well. I just need to print another guidler arm out so that we can do that install. So we might possibly just put together with the standard guidler arm, and then I can swap it out off stream later, or we'll wait and do that Thursday after I print the other parts in the lime green. But yeah, then we also did here, let me flip you guys over to this view. We built and installed our 3 Z motors. So we've got our XY action going. We've got the Z motors installed. We have the top pulley mounts installed. We need to install our pulleys next, and then work on doing the other parts that'll be for the bed mount and running the belts for the Z-axis. That's kind of where we're at today. Kind of a brief overview of where we're at, where we've been, and where we're going. We are almost done with what I will say the main physical build of the printer. And soon we'll be getting into the actual backpack, which is the electronics piece. So once again, this is the front, this is the back. They call it a backpack because it normally mounts right along the back side of the printer here. It would hold your electronics rather than being up underneath, because you've got these big motors at the bottom. I have seen people, and since this is a rectangle, right, cube with higher sides, I have seen people take the backpack and move it from in the back to on the side. And by moving it onto the side over here, it allows you to put a screen down the front or what would be the front edge of the backpack. So that is something we may do, and it's simply just swapping these 2 panels. So that's probably something we will be looking at doing. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and get started. Once again, I hope everybody's doing well this evening and that your week's going good so far. And for those of you that are going to be starting your holiday breaks this week or next week, congratulations to you. Like I said, this week's getting pretty slim. My boss goes on leave tomorrow, so it's going to be very, very slim as far as people in the office or online. Coffee off the table so I don't knock it over. I'm going to lay the printer down on its back, like so. Make sure I don't get a cable caught. And we're going to start with this idler right here. And in fact, I'll probably bring the other camera around just so you guys can see what I'm doing a little bit more. Do like that, throw this camera up. And Createx Brett, I did see your message, did respond. Definitely want to sit down and start talking to you and start planning out whatever our build is going to be for our robot. So what we're going to put here is a toothed idler. So just before stream, I went through and sanded my pins just like we did before, just to make sure that my bearings would slide on, but that they're going to be a fairly tight fit. So I've got 3 bearings that are sliding on. And I also ran the 5mm reamer through the one side, not both sides, just one side, so that the pin will be easier to get in to get the pulley in place. And then on the other side, it's going to be a nice, good, tight fit to hold that pin in. The other thing we're going to need is we're going to need some 1mm shim washer. So let me go ahead and grab those out of our Annex kit here. Make sure I grab the 1mm, not the 0.5mm. Get those dumped out there. So like before, it's going to go shim, pulley, shim. It's going to be a fairly tight fit. So we'll get our pin started. And actually, I didn't ream this one yet because I was going to have to do it by hand. Once it's mounted, I can't get the drill in there. So easier said than done, obviously. And of course, the only thing I have to grab hold of to try and do this manually happens to be the sharp edges of the blades. You know, it's all good. A little bit of red on the Limebot green won't be too bad. Let's see if that, yep, see, that's all it is. It's just a tiny little bit of burr, and all of a sudden that pin goes in a lot easier. So pull that pin out, we'll get a 1mm shim going on it. Get our pulley lined up. And then comes the fun part, and that's trying to get the thing to pull out just enough that we can get the next shim in there. And getting the other shim in there in the right place. Almost there. Can't tell if I'm too high, too low. Or if it's just too tight and I just need to whack it a second. Just need to be whacked into place apparently. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it's too low now. I'm gonna have to try a different angle on this. Either that or maybe it's just that the printed part I should have reamed all the way through on it. So that'll be good to know. Let me try and solve that problem. How's everybody doing this evening? Hey, Nick. Lurking and listening while you cook dinner? Okay, what's for dinner, Creatix Brit? I need to know if I want to fly to New York real fast. Or it should be like mac and cheese, ramen noodles. Just to touch in that hole. I think what I'm running into is there is, because of the way these print, there is a little bit of an overhang there. And I'm thinking that's probably what I'm catching is a bit of the overhang because I think the yeah, the pin is in the plastic part. So we're going to use our we're just going to push that in there like that. And that will be good. There we go, one down. Now I'm going to flip it over 180 degrees and we'll do basically the same thing with our front two pulleys. And looking at the diagram that we're seeing here, which is actually the front two pulleys, not sure if it makes a difference which way we go in, but I'm going to try and go in from this side. Actually, it might be easier. Yeah, no, that's the only way it's going to go in right now because of the effective gravity. No, I guess I can get that pin in. So if I can get the pins in there, it'll probably be easier to try and get the pulley stack going in this way. So just like before, we'll put in the rod or a dowel, I should say. One of our 1mm washers on top of said dowel. And it's not going to be that the washer because that particular washer doesn't want to go on there nicely. A different washer. All right, we'll hold off on that. We'll do one at a time. Lay in place. We're bringing our our dowel pin in. And let me turn this around again. Probably bring it towards me. Flip you all around. So we're coming in here. We've got our dowel pin. We've got our washer, our pulley. We're going to need another washer, which will drop all the way down in there because gravity now. Let me see if I've got enough room to grab the washer and then hold it in place. Whoops. Not sure where that washer went now. There it is. Okay, camera angles are probably not going to be my friend right now. So let me just switch back over to the main camera and you guys can watch me fiddle fangle with some things. All right. So to there. Well, this is going to be fun. Like, I guess there's a part of me that just said, why am I trying to do this on the part or on the frame? Why don't I just take the part off? It'd probably be easier. Hey, Nick, Nick. And like I said, if you build printers long enough, you'll realize you'll get frustrated real quickly and you'll be like, nope, there's an easy way of doing this. Okay, so taking it off and holding it sort of like this, I'll be able to stick the washer on there, push it back into place while holding the pulley from rotating. Then that should let me have it 95% of the way there and then knock it off. Ads are incoming. Oh, there we go. So that pulley went in. So we just bring this back over here and mount it back up. Then we'll do the same thing on the other side. We'll just take the bracket off and it'll make that pulley a lot easier to get in instead of trying to fight gravity and camera angles and all that good stuff. Hey Zombie, how's it going? Shaudell, welcome in. Hit Skyfire, Ramon, Pete, welcome on in, everybody. 48 volts. Well, let's see. Let's see here. We've got two different power supplies, and these things are kind of cute little suckers. So we've got 24 volt, 48 volt. And the way they're going to mount, I've got a dual mount, and they're going to mount upside down from each other. So all of my 110 is going to be on one side, and all of my DC out is going to be on the other side. But there's a mount that they're going to basically mount just like this along the back frame. Yeah, so dual UHP. And these things are really nice. The 200s are going to give you plenty of room inside the case. So that's going to be pretty nice. Kind of wetting my whistle before possibly pulling the trigger on a VZ-bot or something down the way. Okay. Yeah, my plan is X and Y will be 48 volt. I've already got the Big Tree Tech 5160T Pros step sticks. They're going on a Constellation Supernova board, which is controlled by a Raspberry Pi 2040. So it's basically a secondary MCU. It just has 4 drivers and 4 end stop points. And then everything beyond that will be running off of a standard MCU of some sort. I just don't know. I haven't decided what that standard MCU is going to be. Okay, so it's probably going to be like a Manta M5P or something. It's a 5-stepper, right? Okay, so dowel rod in. We're going to put one of our M5 shims on there, 1mm shims. There we go. We're going to put on our pulley. That lined up and started. And then this is where things start getting fun as we work on trying to get the last shim in. Get that last shim centered on there. and then get our rod pushed through. There we go. That's pushed through. Now we're just going to screw it back in. That was so much easier than trying to do it with it on the printer. We probably need to talk about doing, building the pulley stack off the printer and then mounting it as a stack on the printer. Okay, so those are back on. Next up, we have already mounted the right and left side of the motors. We've installed the Z-drive brace. And we're going to start building the kinematic platform assembly. So we have 3 of these to do. There will be a rear one and then the 2 front ones. Let me get that out of the way. Scoot that over there. Don't think we need the shims right now, so I'll put those back away so I don't make a big mess out of them. Okay, so what we'll be working on now are these pieces here, which once again, I reamed out the 4 holes that will be used to mount to the linear rails, as well as these 3mm holes through the tension brackets for the belts. I'll probably need to dig this this slot out a little bit because once again it prints like this, which means I probably have some elephant foot on that slot, so we'll have to work on that. We're going to need to put in a couple of heat set inserts on each piece. So let me grab the M356s out of here and bring up my stealth press. Go ahead and sit this down while we build these. It's going to be connected via USB. So in essence, you're going to have a Raspberry Pi, and that Raspberry Pi is going to be talking to all of the MCUs over USB. The Annex engineering folks really aren't big CAN bus fans, simply because you actually have better data throughput on a USB than CAN bus. So we're going to go ahead and insert our M3 by 5 by 6 into the end of our tensioners, kind of like we did before. We'll get it close, and then we'll use the bottom of our, or the side of our table here to make sure it's nice and flat. So our screw has good alignment, because the screw is going to come in from this edge and pull through on the M3 M3 heat set insert. So, and the nice thing about that is, if you were trying to, if you were really cranking on that to get your tension nice and good, you're actually trying to pull that insert through the printed part, not out of the printed part. So the chances, we've all been there where we've been trying to tighten a screw and then we rip this out and it just comes out. Well, in order to do that, you're basically pulling it completely through this printed part. So I don't think that's going to happen. It's going to be good for tension down the road. Yeah, we'll take a look at the MCUs. Probably, we might look at it a little bit later. Or we'll definitely look at it on Thursday. All three of those are nice and flush. We might have to do a little bit of filing on the edges of these. I'm trying to figure out, yes, this will be the back one. So this one's going to get a heat set insert right here on the corner. My other two are going to get some as well. So we'll go ahead and do those. Double check. That is an M356, M356. They're calling for M356. Did I just do M354s in there? And I did. So that was my problem, is I was using the shorter ones. Hopefully we don't have a problem with that. I get for not reading appropriately. So I used to just grabbing the same size heat set inserts as a boron. But yes, we will be using 48 volt in this. The XY is going to be 48 volts, and the Z is going to be 24 volts. The caps on the Constellation board are actually rated all the way up. You run 56 volts through the caps. So the reason we're limited to 24 volts normally isn't that the motors can't handle it. It's that the board, the MCU, can't handle it because of the caps that are installed on the MCU. So I'll show you the difference here in a second. I think that's all we're going to need for now. So we'll put these away. We'll hope that we don't have to try and dig these other ones out. If anything, we might just have to use a tiny little bit longer screw. And I can swap those out with something if I need to. Coffee. Okay, and so standard motherboard or MCU, I'm going to have to go with a Big Tree Tech SKR 1.3 and a Constellation. So the SKR 1.3 here, pretty typical. You've got your slot, and within your slot, there's a cap, a capacitor. And this capacitor is, yes, 100 watt or 100 microfarads and 35 volts. I don't know if I can get that close enough. Nope. This is rated at 35 volts. That is why you're limited to 24 volts here and you can't go any higher, right? Cap spray at 35, if you try and put 36, it's going to go pop. You might be able to up it to 30 or take a 36 volt and down it to 30 if you've got enough adjustment in the pot to do that. But that's about all you're going to get out. Now, these are the 5160s, and these are the caps for the 4 motors on our Constellation board. So look at the difference in the size. I mean, this is that's as high as the heat sinks are on these, and these are higher than normal heat sinks. And these are rated at 63 volts and 300 microfarads, or 330 microfarads. There we go. So that's why you can run 48 volts into these. And they can technically go all the way up to 56. Right? So this is the real thing, is your caps and some of the other stuff as well. You know, here you've got a 10 amp circuit and then a 20 amp circuit. The 20 amp is for the bed. The 10 amp is pretty much for everything else. I think actually the 20 amp might be the bed and the 2 heaters. And 10 amp for everything else. Here you've got a 10 amp and it's pretty much just running the 4 steppers. Sorry about that. I didn't put that on stun. So yeah, that's the board that we're going to use for this build, is the Supernova. And then, like I said, I'm going to use something. Heck, I could even use this for the XYs. It doesn't matter. I just need something that's got, 3 for the X and 1 for the tool head. So I only need 4 motors. And the ability to, I would prefer to run the Pi either off of this, or potentially I could run like the Big Tree Tech Pi, which can run off 12 or 24 volt. And that way I don't need to do anything at 5 volt. I don't need to step anything down. I can just run everything off of the main voltage that I'm running. So now I have seen people run, you know, like these on octopuses. There's nothing that says that you need to run 48 volt for this printer to run. This printer runs perfectly fine feeding all motors 24 volt. I'm just choosing to do a 48 volt mixed build because why not? And technically, if I wanted to, I have a second Constellation board, so I could run everything at 48 volts and run everything off of 5160 Pros. But there really is no use in running a Sherpa off of a 48 volt, right? I mean, you're running a NEMA 14 pancake motor. I mean, if you're running Sherpa heavy, maybe, but I think that's even still in beta. That hasn't been fully released yet. Howdy, Nick, and Royal Nomi. Okay, so we're going to work on our rear piece, so the one that's kind of straight and doesn't have the little angles to it. So that's the one we're going to work on. We got an M3 by 5 by 4 instead of an M3 5/6. So like I said, we might have to possibly run a screw in here. I don't want to try and dig this out and then put a 6 in. We just may have to run a longer screw to get to it. We'll see. And then We need an M3 by 35. Where am I in 3 by 35? We'll end up needing a couple of those. So there's our M3 by 35s. And that's going to go through the back here and then into one of our tensioning blocks. Hey, Rodney Mac, how's it going, my friend? How is it going? We're actually going in a little bit tighter, but yeah, we're going to have to file the back sides of these down. Let's just go ahead and do that right now before we start putting these things together and adding stuff to it. Let's just go ahead and get our knuckles bleeding before we get too big into this. So how you feeling, Nomi? Hopefully feeling good. Yeah, I was saying that my son came into town today. Hey, Shaudell, how's it going? And I was talking to my wife, and she goes, I don't know. He hasn't responded to any of my texts. And I was like, okay. Because I talked to him earlier today and I had meetings. So I was like, well, if you need somebody to talk to, because he started driving at 4:30 today from Goshen. And I was like, if you need somebody to call, go ahead and call mom and she can keep you company on the drive if you need to. And yeah, he ignored her text. Didn't call and talk to her. And I told her, I was like, well, you need to call him because that'll interrupt his music as he's driving. And she goes, okay. And she grabs her phone. And about that time, my front door opens up. And I've talked to him about doing that before. I'm like, we're not sticks, but I do kind of have a concealed carry. I'm like, one of these days, you're just going to open that door unannounced and you're going to get an unpleasant surprise. But he brought me donuts. So apparently he had gotten here, and that's when he noticed the text from mom saying, hey, um could you stop and pick up donuts for your dad on the way in for his stream? So yep. So he's forgiven because he brought me donuts and coffee. Miss Dragon may be sitting downstairs lurking because I just thought I heard somebody laugh. So either she heard me or they're watching TV. Ah, yeah. Yep. I've got quite a number. It was supposed to be 10, and I looked at the box and I was like, well, somebody can't count because there's 15 in here, but I'm not going to send them back to return donuts either. Um, okay, let me get this back in there. And your teeth face the slot. So make sure that you're orientating your part appropriately. We're just going to get these in here. Um, good question, Nomi. I think he's off for a couple of weeks. I just don't know if he's going to spend those couple of weeks here with us. But yeah. So I'm just going to go ahead and get these all put in there. Same thing, different, just different part. The teeth go towards the slot, and your heat set insert faces out. They don't need like to be fully screwed in there. They're just placeholders for now. Once we put the belts on, we'll be taking these back out anyhow. I will say he got here, chatted for a short bit, and then opened up his laptop, got on the Wi-Fi, and started playing World of Warcraft. So yeah, cleared a little bit of plastic out of that one. You know, my wife has been known to actually bake some. So, okay, so we've got that in. Now what we're going to do is we need some bearings and some M3x12 socket head cap screws. We'll wind up doing 2 per each one of these. And we're going to need some bearings. Now these are the small bearings. We're used to using like 608 through 625s. Little Dragon ain't so little no more. Little Dragon ain't so little. So yeah, we're going to use these little bearings. So these are our 623 2RS bearings. Okay. And all we're going to do is we're going to place an M3x12 through them, and they're going to get oh man, they done changed the parts up, so that's where you got to look again. So it looks like this bearing now sits in the printed part, and you've got little nubs in there that kind of make the washers. So it's kind of like print it in place washers. And we're going to screw through the bearing in these nubs and into the printed part in the middle. I'm really hoping that these are at a good angle where they don't, these two screws don't need to be shorter so they don't foul on each other. You just press it into the hole there, and it should pretty much center in that groove. It's pretty tight, right? And you're going to be screwing into plastic. And you don't want to compress these. You just want them to be snug up against the printed part. So it's going to look just like that. And then what's going to happen is we're going to have these rods that'll sit right down on it so that it can roll and shake a little bit on there. Okay. So that's one done. Then we're basically going to do the same thing for the other two, and then we'll mount them. So let me get the other two put together, and then we'll mount these. So kind of same thing, different drill. The M3x5x6 should be M3x5x6 in here, but we use 4s. Well, it'll live. And then we're going to go ahead and add these two bearings in here. So this looks different than what you're seeing there. just because these are different versions of the parts. So you took your real pain meds? Well, and I think, Bob, I think she's starting to hurt because your nerve block wore off soon, or the last couple of days, didn't it? And yeah, so Pesla's, um, Little Dragon. Little Dragon is about an inch or two taller than me. He weighs more than me, and public math. He was born in 95, so he's 28 years old. So give you a little idea of where we're dealing with. Little Dragon ain't little. And so I've got a 31-year-old, a 28-year-old, and a 25-year-old. The 31-year-old lives in Colorado with his husband. The 25-year-old, or excuse me, the 28-year-old lives in Goshen, Indiana. And then the 25-year-old, last time I knew, was in California because she hasn't talked to me. I wouldn't give her $1,500 a month, and so she got mad at me. Yep, still my baby. That's true. So yeah, these bearings fit in pretty tight, and really all we're doing here with the screws is providing a little bit of, one, an axle, and two, just a little bit of extra support to these bearings. Yeah. Oh yeah, nerve block's gone, and you started PT. Oh God. Yeah, I haven't done it with knee, but I did it. I had that issue with both shoulders. Um, I had a hernia operation done, and they didn't tell me. They decided last minute after I was already under to go ahead and do a nerve block in my thigh, and they didn't bother to tell me about it. So I woke up thinking that they hit a nerve and that I was going to be like, uh, lost all feeling in my upper leg. And they were like, no, 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 no. Don't freak out. We just did a nerve block. I'm like, you didn't say nothing about a nerve block, doc. Like, you're supposed to tell me things like that, and I'm supposed to be signing off on things like that. But yeah, hopefully they gave you some real pain meds and they're good and they help take the edge off and let you get some sleep. I have a feeling one of these days I've had a meniscus tear in my right knee, but that wasn't too bad once we had surgery done. But I have a feeling I'm going to wind up with a knee surgery down the road as well, if not both. But once again, slightly different parts from what we're seeing in the manual, because the manual is for the 1.1 build, and this is the 1.2 revision parts. Hey, Chewy, how's it going? How is it going? So once again, we'll have three parts now. We'll have the belt tensioner in place. We'll have another heat set insert in the back in 3x5x6. And then we'll have our two bearings that are inserted. These are 623 2 RS bearings with M3x12 screws becoming the axles. But these are pretty tight press fits in there. So they're going to stay really nice and secure. Now we're going to mount these, and we mount them with M3x25s on the front. Should be the same for the back. Let me double check since we skipped past that. Oh, M3x16s for the back one. We'll use some M3x16s for the back one. And M3x25s for the front. It must be in my other box of fasteners because I'm not seeing them here. And so that's why I got the second box of fasteners, because there was extra fasteners that were tossed in, and they were tossed in specifically because there were some differences in the parts between the 1.1 and the 1.2. They're 35s. These. Just being able to make up the difference on those two. If they're even needed, it may be that they're not needed. They may just need to be a smaller size, actually. You're going to play some Baldur's Gate 3? You know, I still haven't played that game, though I did resubscribe or restart my subscription for Star Wars The Old Republic. And like I said, my son came in and immediately started playing World of Warcraft. All right, so we've got our linear rail back here. I'm going to go ahead while I can and take this top stop off because we're not going to need these anymore now that we've got these corner brackets in place. Okay, so we're going to take our the straight one. It's going to mount to the side just like this. We use our M3x16s. We're going to stick out just a few threads, nothing major. But we're going to get these started here. Probably, it doesn't tell me to use any Loctite on these, which I'm not sure why not. I am going to use just a tad bit on the last few threads because we really don't get too many of the threads in there. Make sure your bearings are facing the top. I'm just going to get it a little snug so I can get all four in there and then we'll tighten them down. Hey Timor, how's it going? Hope you're doing well today. Fuller, how are you doing? Now, just like normal, we're going to screw these on and do it in a crossing pattern. So that one's done. Now we're going to flip it around so that we can do the front ones. And they need to mount so that the belts go towards the inside. So it's going to mount like this on what'll be the right-hand side so that the belt is following with this pulley. So we'll mount like that. And let me try and see real fast. I'm going to be going through yeah, I really do need M3 by 25. That's what it was calling out for the fronts. Or no, it's calling out for M3 by 16s again for the front. Where did I get 25 from? Even still, that doesn't look like, I don't even think these will make it through there. Now that's not even going to make it through. So we're going to have to definitely be looking for some M3 by 25s. I'm not seeing any there. Good thing I've got a bunch of screws, so I'm going to just stick one of these through here. Yeah, and there's an M3 by 25, so that's kind of what we need. Once again, we'll get just a tiny dab of Loctite on the end threads here. Doesn't call for it, but I want to make sure that, you know, this is one of those high acceleration opportunity printers, so I want to make sure that everything is as locked down as possible. You're doing okay? Good. Royal Nomi was dramatic today. Did she go to a Chili's? Did you go have lunch at a Chili's after your physical therapy today? Because I heard rumors how you get Chili's. Or was it Applebee's? Well, thanks, Solar. Yeah, this has been a pretty fun build so far. It's not necessarily like massively complicated if you built printers before. There's been a couple of places where I've had to go like, that part looks different. Like we did on these bed rail guides for the Z-axis, because if you look at the printed part there, the you know, there should be a mound in the middle, and then these are kind of sitting on the outside. Well, they switched it around in the way that they did the bearings in here, right? But I think this is a much better way of doing it than the way they had it. And this is going to be a little better captive on the on the uh, bed rods. And you'll know what I mean by rods here in a second. Like that's what I need to do is just do it like that. I'm missing something. And then being able to adjust on the fly here, because like I said, measuring them, these parts are like 20 millimeters thick, and they're calling out for M3 by 16 socket head cap screws. And I'm like, these parts are a lot thicker than the rear. The rear was M3 by 16s. There was no way that these could have been M3 by 16s. So, and I figured, okay, well, if it's going to have to take 25s, then I should have 25 screws somewhere. And no, I don't. Well, at least not in the kit. So I can make up the difference. That's not a problem. And who knows? I may find M3 by 25s in here and I just can't. Oh, no, that's M5. See, I'm normally like, I will put all of my screws in size order. So that way it's easier for me to find them. And this, they're kind of all spread around. So kind of makes it a little bit harder to find them. Yeah, so far I'm quite confident that just about everybody in this channel could build this printer from a mechanical standpoint, because you're simply following directions step by step, and the documentation's pretty good. And you got plenty of us that you can do a reach out to if you hit a spot that was snagging. You know, you were just like, I'm not sure about that. Okay. Now we're going to actually build the Z-axis bed frame. So I'm going to put this back down off the table, and I need to go grab 180 and 250 millimeter extrusions. 180 and 250. Whoops. So the good news is we don't have many extrusions left. It should be this one and this one, because the last two extrusions will be for the back plate to provide some rigidity to the back plate. We'll double, triple, quadruple check our measurements. And yep, 250, 180. Now this does have a through hole in it. I do not know why it's not called out for. It must have been in the old version of the guide. But you may notice here, and I'll go over to full screen so it's a little bit bigger. That hole, well, it might not be in, maybe it's not. I was looking at like maybe that's right in the middle, but it's not. It does look like it's off-centered, which is good because this needs to be off-centered. And it uses the corner braces, but it looks like it can actually accommodate a blind joint as well. So for reinforcement, I'm probably going to just run a screw in there and do a blind joint. Just because I can. We'll do a, because we don't need it necessarily, because we're going to add those corner braces. I'm just going to do a M5 by 10 screw. instead of a full M5 by 16 and all of that goodness. But we are going to be looking for 101 on the short side. Let me get my 1, 2, 3 block. Bring you guys back over here so you can see what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm measuring out one side to 101. I'm going to use a 1, 2, 3 block on the other side. Make sure that I am straight and square. So 101, straight and square. Straight and square. 101. Now we'll check the other side. Should be 129, which it is. So that's good. And that will hold it in place while we then do our corners. And once again, it calls for M5 by 10. And I don't think we can do the 10s. If I remember right, when we did the corners before, we had to do M5 by 8s, which I do have M5 by 8s added to the kit if memory serves me. Double check. If not, then I grab my own M5 by 8s, which I will do again if I need to. Those are 12s, and these are button heads, not socket heads, and they're 10s. So let me grab my M5 by 8 socket head cap screws. Or button heads, whichever ones I have. We'll go with button heads. Button heads probably work in this application better anyhow. Because of the type of corner brackets that we're using. And where'd I put the other 2 corner brackets? I mean, if we were using the Misumi corner brackets like they showed there, then we'd be fine. But using the standard type aluminum corner brackets, having a button head cap screw actually I think works a little bit better. Just going to hold this up. We'll use some of our M5 roll-in T-nuts. Pulleys is all they have knowledge of. Those 2, once again, we're going to use a button head cap screw. So we'll put a little bit of banh mi juice on there. Sort of get it snug so I can push that over into the corner. Do the same thing on the other side. Stay Applebee's because you still need a margarita sometimes. Well, the nice thing here is because we've already, worked with the blind joint, these things should be, well, one, they're square because we checked it for square when we tightened the blind joint. And um, we're able to set these in here just as another basically measure for ensuring that it maintains that squareness over time and through the rest of the build. Now, there is a bed heater mod for this that I saw. I think it uses either a 5015 or a 5020 radial blower fan. I've probably got a 5015 I can put on there. Just don't know if I want to or if I want to just build it straight and then make mods down the road. Now, I know I'm going to be putting the trad rack on here, so I'm making the mod to the Sherpa parts, and that will give me the ability to add an end stop to the Sherpa Mini, the top of the Sherpa Mini, to act as a filament runout sensor at the top of the printer or at the top of the tool head. So combine that with the ERCFA, or not the ERCFA, but the trad rack, and you'll have the setup for an MMU. So I'll be able to start doing Q-Forge like all the bamboo people do. And I should also be able to do basically like filament, like if I'm doing a long print, I should be able to roll from one spool to another when one rolls out. You're working on the Creality, is that 5S1 enclosure, OEM enclosure. It's poorly engineered and actually traps the tool head cable in the corners. Yeah, that was the issue I was having with the Flying Bear, is their umbilical cable, the mount points are underneath the top hat. So there's nothing that supports this big long cable, so it flops down behind it and it catches. So I'm going to have to do some changes to that before I move that to Site B. Rip the cable to shreds. Oof. Well, that sucks, Timor. So we got this in place, and this basically looks like an offset T. Now, on this side, we need to put a bed mount. Now, see, this is the annoying part. So we put it together like this. So this is the long edge. Short edge is here. It doesn't necessarily show you the full orientation of how this piece goes. I'm going to assume that once again, this is the short edge. The long edge is what got cut off. So we're going to be mounting our other bracket right there, which should be in this group of parts, I think. That, that, at those two. Awesome. So I've got another set of parts that I didn't know because I hadn't opened the kit up yet. So I didn't know whether it had based on M5 or M6 screws. So some of these parts, like these, are set for either M5 or M6 screws. So that would be the M6. That would be an M6. That would be an M6. This should be the M5. Because all the parts that I have are for the M5 set. So this will be the 3 that we're going to use. Yep. And this is the orientation that we're going to look at. So this is kind of what we're seeing from the side. So we're going to have one that'll go into the end of the extrusion, and then 2 that are going to come in from the side of the extrusion. So it's going to go on our extrusion just like that. And this arm is facing over towards the long side of our front bar. Okay. So we need an M5 by 10 and 2 M5 by 16. M5 by 10 and our M5 by 16. We're going to need a couple of those. Oh, and an M5 by 12 down through the top, even better. And because these are M5 socket heads, we're going to need the number 4. And it doesn't call for it, but I don't think it's going to hurt to use the one that's going into the extrusion just a tad bit in the first couple of threads there. Keep that nice and going. We'll have one here at the top. And that is an M5 by 12. And then we're going to need 2 here on the side. So the one is going to have the hole facing the back. And we're going to use a smaller one to try and push that in there. And we'll go ahead and just do the other one in the same direction. And 5 by 16s. And then we'll have an M8 by 50 shaft that'll go in here. And I'll hold off on grabbing those until we get the other 2 set up. Okay. So This is looking at an end. And now look at the end that goes out that way. Right? Once again, these parts are slightly different. I'm just trying to make sure that I've got a good understanding of what it is I'm trying to do. Okay, so it goes like that. There we go. That's the face that I was looking for. Okay, so M5 by 16 from the top on this one. M5 by 16. Oh, darn it. M5 by 16. And M5 by 30 going through those bottom bed pieces. Once again, I think I had M5s and M6s, M6s, M5. So M5 by 30. And M5 by 30 socket. Those are in threes. And it's calling for M5 by 30 socket heads. I've got M5 by 30 button heads. See what these are. Here's the M5 by 30 socket head cap screws. So once again, we're going to be going through a couple of parts and into the extrusion. So I'm going to do the last few threads with some thread locker. We're going to go through the bottom part of this, which of course is tight and probably should have been reamed out with a reamer before I tried to do that. Let me hit these parts and show a little love to them real fast. Hey, Aaron, how's it going? How are you doing this evening? You got your Everything going on the salad fork? Doing like this, and 5 by 16 at the top. And an M5 by 30 goes through the bottom curve piece and into the extrusion. We'll add these here in just a second. Um, Go ahead and do the same thing for the other side. 1 by 16. And the M5 by 30. Chorus concert. Awesome. 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 Putting on skirts and panels tonight. Nice. Are you doing that on stream or are you just doing that? Hey, Luke's player, how are you doing tonight? Hope you're doing well. Okay. So those are in there on each side, these rounded pieces. The more I look at those, I'm not sure, if these were being printed separately, I think it's just for ease of printing, but I probably should have done these in the accent color. It wasn't called out, but I don't see why not. Okay, so now let's go ahead and find those M8 dowel rods, and we'll add those in. You're just going to do it. I get you. I get you. Once again, these rods are supposed to be a press fit in there. And these are going to be nice and tight, especially since the faces that I'm pushing through are the ones that were down, which means they might just have a little bit of uh, why can't I talk tonight? A little bit of elephant's foot on them. So just a slight bit of, we're going to try just a slight bit of deburring on them and see if these go on easy. If they don't, then we'll go ahead and we'll ream them out to M3 by 8. I'm sorry, not M3 by 8. God, M8. Because these are supposed to be pushed all the way in. So it's pretty tight. So I'm just going to grab my M8. Grab the M8 reamer. and probably something I could have done off channel or before we started mounting things, but make sure that we get the right angle. Now I'm going to have to dust off my table here because I now have big amounts of oops, sorry about that. Okay, these should now go in easier. And once again, we want them pressed all the way down into the channels because once again, this is what the bed is going to be riding on. So you make sure that they're fully seated all the way down into the channels. And in these cases, because they're going at an angle, you will get a little bit of the edge coming out. Perfectly fine. There's nothing going to be in the way of those. So we've got those down now. So we've got top bolt, front bolt through the curved piece, and we've got our rods in. Now we're going to do of course, like now we need to do an M3x5 insert on the inside of these pieces. Like seriously, you couldn't have told me that before I mounted everything on it. I tell you, these peeps. Well, let's go ahead and give it a shot. Uh, we need to pull our soldering iron out. True two-wolf design, but regardless, it would be easier to put those heat sets in before it's mounted on the rail because now I got to hold it like this and try and put a heat set in like this. And there's nothing flat here anymore where this part printed flat on this edge. So if I didn't have everything mounted, I could set this down and easily press it in. That's the annoying part. So that needs to be changed in the manual. I know they're rewriting the manual for 1.2 stuff. And these are the standard M3x5x4s. I know they are rewriting the manual, but yeah, that's just kind of annoying. Yeah. These are the M6 parts that I don't need. Yep, parts I don't need. Just throw them away. Got those out. Need to fire this up. And a little bit of heat going in this. Have some coffee while it warms up. One down. Sorry for not doing this a little bit better. You done? And 3 done. We'll just rest it in there for now. Remind me of that so we don't hurt ourselves or break something later. We've got our 3 heat sets in. Mirror the parts, do the same thing. Now it wants us to mount our bed on the bed platform. 2 in the front, 1 in the back. These are being done with M3 screws. Just cleaned and tuned the swivel. Nice. And that's the SV06. Prusa rebuild. That Prusa rebuild's been around the corner for months now. Okay. Let's see what all we got in here. I feel like we have a magnet, build plate, the cable, okay. This is top, this is bottom, and we're going to need to work on mounting our thing here first. I don't know. The HoneyBadger. you got your thing on here all nice and dandy, right? You've got your power cables all nice and neatly sleeved. You didn't install the fuse yet. So what? Am I just take our nice sleeving and cut it off so I can put the fuse in? Go without the fuse? I mean, it's a mains heated bed. Really should have a fuse on it. So I guess maybe I'll be doing some Wego bed mounts and cutting this wiring harness and using some Wegos. Ugh. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like the HoneyBadger heat pads and stuff, but this is the same size bed as the salad fork and the Micron, right, Aaron? It has the same cutouts or the same, like 4-3 pattern. 185 by 185, so it should be the same as the salad fork and the Micron, I guess, pluses. We got to clean some of this gunk off so we can get a good adhesion. SV06, yeah. Ooh, you're doing the luminescence. Oh yeah. So if you didn't have a hard nozzle on there, yeah, replacing a nozzle. It's better. We'll let that flash. The Revo was stuck in customs, sent back to Glendon in Kentucky. Oh wow. Okay, and you're going to replace the hot end when you do that? Because I really like the Revo on my Prusa. I think 2 of the 3 Mark IIIs had Revos. Okay, and if memory serves me, corner, corner, corner. This goes like this, which means it could come straight back if it was done on a whatchamacallit, if it was done on like a Micron or something, but on a Trident, because of how the cutout is, or this Trident salad fork or this, it's going to come out the side. Kind of stinks, especially now that I got to try and put a thing in it, a thermistor in it. It'd be better if it came out the back, but I get it. I get why it was done that way. So we're going to be looking to try and center this as best we can. Some could have measured this out and then made little marks, like corner marks to get you going, but this is a a pretty stout heater pad. Like I've had some Canovos that you could almost fold in on themselves. This one, it's almost feeling like pressboard or cardboard as far as the rigidity of it. So Okay, so that's on there. And of course, I did my cardinal sin and put this on first versus doing my magnet first. Dang it, you guys let me. Normally we do our magnet first, then we add that on afterwards. Ay, ay, ay. And I don't have two Polymaker boxes, so we're going to be using Status boxes for this. So Status on either side. Still going to leave that underneath, and we're doing that so that we don't crush that glass bead thermistor that's underneath or damage any of the cables. We're going to need to clean the top as well, and then we will add the magnet on, get our mounting holes taken care of. And you printed all of your Prusa parts in ABS or ASA, right? If I remember right. Okay. Let that flash for half a second. That should be a 3 and a 6. At least I know it's a 3. It should be a 6. It even be a 7. That would be tight. So yeah, we'll do a 6. Okay. One material is way oversized, and I only have one corner or one rounded corner, which doesn't even match the same rounding as the um, plate. I think I'm going to start at this edge, move this way, and then we'll have to trim off the excess. Okay, so the lime and the galaxy gray. Yeah, that lime is what I used in the past on one of my other builds, and that lime is nice. Let me make sure that I'm getting this nice and square on the edge. Out any potential bubbles as we go. So by making sure I've got the factory edge on two sides, and one of those sides being where my cables come out, that'll make it easier when I go to cut the other two edges flush. Who's got those magical hands? Yep. Hey, Chris, how's it going? Got a chat with Joe at R3D about reselling for Talos. Nice. Yeah, Talos is another one of those big, slightly complex machines, huh? So we're doing this on top of a couple of Feta spools because I forgot and messed up my cardinal rule, and um we did the bed heater first. So I do need to cut the excess around here and do so carefully. Give me 1 second, folks. I do need to take this call. Okay, sorry about that. That was my mom and dad calling, asking if my son had gotten here. I'm like, well, I don't know. Did you call him? Like, no, he made it, but call him because I'm busy. Now we're just going to go ahead and cut around the edge of the magnet. Yes, I am going to be cutting towards my body, or at least partly. I can get this thing started. Probably use a better knife than the one I am using. It's going to be rough. I guess we're going to be cutting downward. And through some nice bubble wrap packaging that we could have used for other things, but not now. Work on cleaning this up a little bit. Do the other side. There we go. We've got our edges done. Round over the corners just slightly. And then like we've done before, we'll use our 3mm reamer to come through the holes in the back, and that will create the initial holes, and then we'll come through with the larger one from the front, larger one being the 6. So we'll go from the back with the 3 and then from the front with the 6 to clean out the counter bores, and that will give us our nice heated bed. By the way, black ABS glass filled and orange ABS glass filled 25%. We'll see this in another build coming up shortly at some point in the near future. Just saying. Okay, so once again, we're going to chuck up our M3 reamer. All right, squirrel. So we got to remember, which ones we're going to use. So it's going to be these two corners and the bottom corner. So gently. Make sure as you're holding this, you're keeping your hand out of the path of the sharp spinning object. It is a reamer, not a drill bit, but it still has sharp edges. Said sharp edges will at least slice into your fingers if you're not careful. Flip it the other way so that we can get this rear side piece done, or the rear mount hole done. Oh no, battery died. Be right back. Need to go grab another one. Let me put you on a be right back screen, and I shall be right back. Hey, West everyone, how are you doing? Hey, TurtleCrawler, how's it going? No, the holes are not too small. What I'm doing, TurtleCrawler, is I've got the magnet on there. Now I'm coming through the back side with an M3 to give me a centering hole, and I'll come through the front with an M6 reamer, and that'll give me a nice clean hole. That's how I do my magnets, to get a nice clean hole on the magnets. Because I found when I try and do a deburring tool that I just shear the magnet and it gets ugly. This gives me a nicer finish on the magnet. Now I'm just being Gucci and anal. Yeah. Let me be right back. I need to swap batteries. Let me put you on mute while I walk down there. Okay. I am glad that I put things on mute so I didn't get a profanity strike when I went downstairs. So my son was sitting in the chair, and apparently the chair ate his phone, uh, which it has done. You know, you're not paying attention and it falls down into the chair. Hey, Maker Viking, how's it going? Are you serious? We had a battery on the charger that's dead and the charger not plugged in, obviously. So it will be back yet again. Right back. Okay, sorry about that, gang. We're still in a holding pattern because the other two batteries that I grabbed were also dead and not charged. So uh, Mrs. Dragon's running out to the shed to see if if any of the ones that are out there that are sitting on the charger are done. So, Daddy Wazzy, welcome on in. Maker Viking, welcome on in. Hey, Maker Viking, I was thinking about you. How's Fenrir coming along? West 3-1, the bag destroyer. Following the footsteps of another, print up the latest version of the MPCNC, the mostly built one a few years ago, but never got around to setting up the rails. You kept going round and round at what size you should. Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, you've got the printed parts, and then it's just how long how long do you get the pipes, right? Because it runs on. Is it conduit that it runs on? Kit Skyfire. Yeah, you saved one, Westery. That's true. Is it? I mean, it is a fairly thick one. Like I said, the only issue I have is I get the HoneyBadger, which I get. Don't get me wrong. I get a fuse. This is RTV to N at the bottom. So my only option is going to be to cut this sleeving at some point, peel it back so that I can add the fuse on here in one of the extra holes. because I'm going to have to probably do something like that and then splice the fuse in. Um, and with it coming out with the way the holes are drilled and the way that the mat is cut, um, it's coming out the side. So it would be the side and the back. So it might be interesting on how thank you, might be interesting on how I do Wagos underneath in order to be able to splice in the thing easier. So might as well do Wagos if I'm going to have to cut into it. Well, and that's the thing. There is something right here, and it very well could be a fuse. Um, so I'm kind of confused. Like I'm going to throw this one. I mean, that does look like there's a fuse there. So it does have 150. So I wonder if this is a resettable. Yeah, this is the resettable, and this is the 130C. Exactly. So the only way to do that is to cut this pretty nice wiring harness, which is annoying. Exactly, TurtleCrawler. That's the big thing. This is one and done. This pops and it's done. I know because the one on my V0 gave up because of so many cycles. I mean, obviously these will fail over cycles printing at 110C for long periods of time. But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty wiring harness, and I'm gonna have to cut it. Okay, so I've got the 3 mil holes from the back, and like I said, that gives me my target for my 6 mil coming from the front. And this will let me get the line up appropriately for the socket head cap screw counterbores. You got the swarf, and you got a nice little counterbore there. We'll do that 2 more times. Then the magnet will be done. Now I will say that this is a pretty thick magnet as well. It's slightly off on the top two holes, but not bad. Like I said, this winds up being a little bit better for me than normal because I will normally just gouge them up big time. Well, yeah, these are pretty thick plate, and that's a pretty thick magnet. I mean, that's a good 2 mil, if yeah, 2 mil thick magnet. And the bed that came in the kit, the actual spring steel print bed, yeah, single sided spring steel PEI. It's oversized. You did send me another one that's textured. So I also have, once again, single sided, but it's textured. Like I said, these are a little bit oversized. I do have a textured and a standard PEI. Let's set these over here till we need them. Now what's up next? Mounting them with the springs. So we're going to use M3 by 25s. Going to try and visually keep those semi-aligned. Start with spring. And that just called for M3 by 25, which we know that we don't have. Or at least I'm going to triple check again. We do have M3 by 25 socket screws. Completely must have missed them earlier. Okay. So these are red springs. Yeah. 185 sheets, 180 bed. Yep. That works fine. So screw, spring. Good job. Screw, spring. We'll try and get the front ones on, and then we'll do the back one. And wow, these springs are, I mean, so the springs are kind of pretty good load on them. And that calls for 25. And that's not going through the bed material right now. So it's not even coming out of the springs. I'm going to definitely have to compress these springs down to get these to line up, or to we have to compress it when I go to install these and screw them down. So I hope and pray that we're lined up appropriately. Is that going to be there? One on. That one's on. Whoops. No, I did. I missed that, but I pulled the spring or the screw out. There we go. We've got our 3 springs started. Didn't screw them all down. They're just barely started right now. For installing the build plate, please apply the heater and optional PEI. Okay, well, we got the heater on there. We don't need the PEI. Installation into frame. Ensure the bed assembly is in place in the K3 frame with caution, taking care to ensure that the 8mm shafts are resting smoothly on the 623 bearings. So, get that out of the way. We'll bring our K3 back up here, and we're going to face it towards you all. So here's our mounting spots. That stuff down there. We'll grab our bed and we'll bring it in from the side here. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and line it up so that the rods go right down on these bearing blocks. So those 8mm rods are going to be riding right on those bearings. And that way you'll be able to get the wonky kinematics going. So, and right now it's just free floating. And then the next step, we're going to add these springs. And so that's what's going to keep the bed from just flying off of this thing if you move it. So they're safety springs. And it looks like we're going to have an M3 by 25. And that's going to go into the top of this curved piece. We'll do an M3 by 25 in here into that heat set insert that we added. So M3 by 25 socket head, and we're going to do an M3 by 30 at the bottom. You get a couple of those out. So 30s, 25s, and we're going to use these safety springs, what they're calling them. They're just the springs with little eyelets on them. We'll take the 25, go through that, and we'll put that in the top. Since these are all going to basically be the same, I'm going to go ahead and do the top portion. Go with the M3x25s on all three. Mm, When you go on this side, okay. And actually, it'll probably be easier to show this one right here. So the springs, the eyelets are pretty much kind of close to the same plane. But what you're going to do is the bottom one, you're going to rotate 90 degrees. So one will be going like this. The other one is going to be going like this as you go into the front. So we'll just grab that, pull it down, spin it around, and we'll line it up on this lower piece here. We're going to try to get it lined up there in the printed part. Ah, lost that one. Is there a trick to these, Turtle? Maybe needle nose pliers? Okay. Well, they definitely have tension on them, for sure. Da, 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 da. I don't know if it'd be easier to put it down here and then try and loop up or start at the top and pull down. Guess I could lift this up and make it easier for me to. So let me bring you guys in here. So what you've got is a spring connected to the truck that's connected to your linear rail, and then it's also connected to the bed. So the bed's kind of free floating, right? Except now the spring is going to make this a contiguous joint that can give a little bit. Right? So that's a pretty neat idea right there with just using the springs. So we got this one. Let's come around. We'll do the back side, which will be fun. Just because of the way that one's done. Back side's a little bit different. The fact of the bottom comes in from the front and then it comes in from this side. So this may actually be easier to do it the opposite way around and do this lower one first. And this one would have been a lot easier had I need to go on that M30 or M3x30 that I dropped over here. That was going to be a lot easier to after I get the front one on there, and I'm going to have to tip the printer over to get at that bottom one because I'm not going to be able to come out with this. I'm going to have to use a ball end driver. So let me get this one started. Oh, you also had all your Z belts run. I haven't seen it talk about the Z belts yet, so that's why I haven't run the Z belts yet, unless I missed something. Once again, I know a lot of people did their build based on CAD before there was a manual, so. Okay, so there's two done now. This one, like I said, I'm going to have to tip this over. So that I can get up underneath here with a driver to get this bottom part in. Hey, Darth Gollum, thank you for the 6-month sub, or subbing for 6 months. Yeah, it was built in the order it made sense. Yeah. Well, thank you for the 100 bits, Chris. I appreciate that. And there you go. Looking for a single part or a whole new build. go see Chris over at KB3D for all your needs. And I'm looking at this, and that M3x30 is coming way through there, so I'm sure that if I look, that it's 30s on the front and something else on the back. That shows the back, but this back is... I'm so confused. They're acting like the back's thicker than the front. And the fronts are thicker on the Rev 2. Uh-oh. So, Liz, thank you for the 300 bits and the Twitch 30-bit. This is the last day for the Twitch plus ups for bits. Choo-choo. Darth Gollum, 300 bits. Thank you. Thank you so much, Darth Gollum. Oops. I'm trying not to do bad things with the bed. But I am also trying to get this long screw out so that I can go with the shorter one for this. Once again, a little bit of fly by the seat of my pants simply because we're doing 1.2 parts with 1.1 manual. 25 will work better here. It should be 25 and 25. Ronnie Mac, thank you for the 200 bits. I appreciate that. Much love, much appreciated. 51 hamsters with their wheels hooked up to 0.1 volt generators tied together in series. Yeah, to power your Pi, probably, yeah, off the motherboard for the, so what I've had to do in the past, Zombie, is I run the Raspberry Pi, especially if you need a larger power source for the Pi. I've run it with, oh, what am I thinking of? You know, all of the, I swear. So I've run it with the display, like you use the standard TFT port, and then I grab another 5-volt pin from somewhere else because otherwise you don't get enough current. So yeah, you definitely need to have two. Yep. The jumper pins that came with the steppers. Okay. I know that I'm debating on this build whether I use like a Raspberry Pico or Raspberry Pico, a SKR Pico. I've got an SKR 1.3 over there. I've got a SKR Mini over there that I can use for the Z motors and the extruder. And then, yeah, I'd have to figure out a way of powering the Pi off of that. If I do an SKR Pico, which I'd have to buy, of course, that's how you'd power the Pi. So 20 is going to be way too long on this, or 25. I'm probably going to go with just like a 16 on this one. Maybe even something smaller than that. Yeah, the Manta board's pretty nice too. I've got two of the Big Tree Tech Pi boards, which of course would be 24 volt. So I wouldn't have to worry about any voltage there. Oh yeah, 16. we have 16 here in 3 by 16? In 3 by 16. So yeah, that's missed the train. Uh-oh. Oh, the hype train's over with. Yeah, I'm just trying to think over my head, and I'm like, oh, I could buy a Manta board, but then it's like, do I need to buy another board, or can I just use one of the 15 that I have here? I know what the answer is from Mrs. Dragon. Don't use any of them and stop building a printer. But yeah, if I use the Bixby Tech Pi board, then that would be, easy, because then I still am just a 48 and 24 volt system. Okay, so now that's in there. Freewheeling. So the bed's in there now. Now it talks about belting the Z. And this ought to be fun, because on belting the Z, we start off by pulling through the bottom. Yeah, so come through here and go down through the bottom. So like I said, I need to check the bottom side of my bed pieces. So I'm going to flip this upside down and watch that my bed doesn't slam down on my hot end, as it may try to. Just barely clears the hot end there, so that's good. I just need to test these holes out to make sure that I don't need to open them up. It probably would be better to put this on its back, not where it's going to be hitting the nozzle. Oh yeah, no kidding. Oh, those kinematics are working beautiful as it is. And in fact, I was just thinking, all of the belt is the same. Oh, that's 6 millimeter. That's from Chewy's build. Darn it. I just have a feeling that this opening is going to be pretty tight. I'm going to have to clean them out. Maybe, maybe not. Well, they're right at 9, so yeah, I'm probably going to have to do a little bit of clean up on the edges. Like I said, I think there's just a tiny bit of elephant's foot on these. And I noticed when I was trying to run the belts on the X and Z, or excuse me, the X and the Y, that once I did just a slight bit of cleaning on these, belts ran just fine. Okay. As before, is I'm going to try not to take off the tape on one side of the belt so that I don't lose this nice winding. Does it give me a recommended length, or do we just, you know, wag it? Or just wagging it? Okay. Idler, back down. I'm not necessarily afraid of cutting it short. I'm afraid of cutting it too long. Like, I don't know how much extra though. That's the problem. So top pulley to the bottom pulley, down around. I mean, that's going to be plenty. Yeah, loops around stuff in the bottom. Gotcha. So I guess what I can do, this would be the end. This is the other end. Start from here, we would go up and through. Seriously, work with me. Well, I'm coming up from what would be the end. I'm going to go around the pulley, or tip to go around the pulley, and then come back down into the Z drive, and then back up to the eye. Yeah. Well, so far trying to get it to curve around the top pulley here is proven to be fairly finicky too. Okay, my light. I think the ad is over, but I don't know if you were in a starting ad or what have you. You know what I'm going to do, right? Well, you don't even need to take it all the way off. I'm just going to loosen these. Pull the bracket down some. No. So we're coming up this way, going around this way. Here we go. Because this should be the one that comes down here at this end. This is going to come down here. So we're going around a tooth pulley at the bottom, push it back up around the tooth pulley. Then it's going to go around the smooth pulley and then around the drive pulley. And that, I'm hoping, would be a little bit easy to do. Yeah. On drive pulley. Now we can push this into the slot from the bottom, hopefully. And if not, we verify that our bottom slot needs to be opened up some. Which, yeah, I'm going to say the bottom slot needs to be opened up some. How's it going, Mod Light? Hope you're doing well. I saw your Discord DM earlier. There got to be a better way of doing this. I'll teach you. But what it is it's like, okay, it's a 9mm belt. Let's make the slot 9mm. Like, no, if it's a 9mm belt, make the slot like 10mm so that it will, with shrinkage, it'll come down to, like 9.5, 9 and make installation easier. I don't think it's I don't think having 0.5 mm of play side to side in a belt right here would be that big of a deal. Other than just making it extra super fidgety for people to try and get it started and getting in there. Why are you pissed off with the Rook 2020? I didn't think you had actually started the build yet. What I'm doing now is I'm just going to pull this tensioner out of the top. Because one, I'm going to have to do it anyhow. And then two, I want to get this screw head out of my way so that as I'm trying to slightly open up this slot, the screw head isn't in the way causing me any issues, and I can actually see what I'm doing a little bit better. Use on shape, which is almost impossible to, on smartphone. Yeah. Well, the Rook 2020, Rolahan just built one on his stream. Is his stream build videos not good? Between that and I built one on stream. And look at my build videos. All right, so I'm getting stuck where it does the jog around. And I think what I'm going to have to do is just kind of figure out where my, give myself a little bit of extra belt like you were talking about. Cut it off. And as much as I hate to, I wonder if I can come down through the top and make it easier on myself. Which means undoing everything I've done so far, but in order to, you see what I'm saying? Like come down from the top here. Yeah, so it's getting tight right at that little S bend. Yeah, Digital Dragon guy is kind of sus. I don't know if I would trust getting stuff from him. Keeps trying to shove a wet noodle into a hole and can't figure out why it's not working. Of course, this is probably me going, yeah, I'm going to prep my parts in polycarbonate ABS and they're going to work so awesome and everything's going to work with no issue. And I probably didn't get a shrink rate right or something. So I'm fighting a shrinkage rate. Oh, nice. Like I said, coming from the top, so it's going pretty good until right where it does that S bend. And I don't know if it's something in that S bend that's just trying to go this way. I think it's bending and it's just we're missing two of the bottom plates. I mean, that's what's been killing me on this build has been the belts and trying to get them through these S bends. If I can get it through the S bend, then I can pull it and I can make it go through. I'm wondering if I'm coming down through the top here, I start to get snug on that S bend. Like, what if I like cut the first couple of teeth off the end and see if that gives me just a little bit more room to jockey it down the S bend. I'm going to cut my belt long anyhow. If I can just get some of it out, I can pull on the belt. In essence, those S bends are like internal overhangs, right? think I can right there. Um, so close. We are close though. Turtle, did you have any issues with getting your belts run through these? Like, I'm curious if it's just me having issues getting my belts through here. I know. They were tight, but not terrible. Yeah. And I'm just wondering, once again, if it's just extra shrinkage rate from PCABS, because this is like stupid incredible. Really don't want to have to reprint these parts, but this is it's coming down from the top. You've got no leverage because the belt just starts, you know, folding over on itself because it's got room for 2 layers of belt there. Coming in from the bottom, it's like I'm hitting that S and it's just telling me to go suck it, you know? And loop and pull down. Thread yours from the bottom up first. Yeah. And like I said, that makes sense if you can get, you know, like that much of your belt through. So what I'm going to do is what I started to do here is this part of the belt's going to get looped up and over anyhow, and I just need to be able to get it through far enough that I can get hold of it. So I'm actually going to trim the edge down some. I'm going to try all the tricks. So just kind of trim the edge down some, made a slight angle or, to reduce the thickness. We'll pull this back out. Because we're now going to be going from a completely different direction. Like I'm getting it only so far, and then it just like I can't seem to push it any further because the belt just keeps folding in on itself. Really don't want to have to reprint these parts, but I may have to. I don't know if I'll get the belt through any other way. Like I said, it's almost like it's narrowing at the S curve. Oh wait. Oh my god. Oh, we got belt coming through. I'm gonna have to like pull the entire belt through though, going from the top down like this. And yeah, it's still. Oh, there we go. Not all the way through, Luke. Oh, gotta do your loop at the top. Oh, oh, no damage. The belt. All we need is the belt. You need a whole bunch of it. Oh, that was crazy. Now we need an M3 by 10. How many of those? M3 by 10. And this just wraps around an M3 by 10. Yeah, they talk about a 75 millimeter belt. 75 millimeter length of belt. I missed that part. You wrap it around an M3 by 10 screw and then pull that in to your um, piece here. And I can see where this would probably be easier to do without having the bed attached. Especially with as much of a pain in the butt as it is for me to get these on. I didn't know you did a lot of CAD turtle. And yes, that's me being facetious. Oh yay, I just tore my belt. Awesome. All right, folks. It's 9 o'clock. I just tore my belt. I'm done for now. Especially since I'm not sure if I'm going to have enough on this, and I may have to call that one garbage and hope that I still have enough to make it. They said 75. Yep, that one's short now. Okay, I'm going to have to work these, mount some. I'll probably take the bed back off, so I can take these mounts off and work on them to try and open those channels up, because there's no way it should be that tight trying to get these belts through. And so I'm a little frustrated. I was hoping that building tonight would take my mind off some of the stuff going on with work. That did not happen. So let's find some place to raid out to. DM you later. Okay, like I said, it's just right now that these belt channels are way too tight. So I don't know if it's my print tolerances are way off. It's the fact that I use PCABS and there's a different shrinkage rate. I don't know. But it feels like it's, hey, you need to use a 9 millimeter belt, and the channels are 9 millimeters exact. You know? So I know we want to keep things tight and tolerance wise, but trying to push rubber through a 9 millimeter, a hole that's the exact same size as the belt, and what feels like, you know, a quarter of a millimeter extra thickness. Yeah. And I know now I sound like I am very frustrated, and I am. I apologize, folks. No venting. This is a good build. I am liking it, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it, believe it or not. But yeah, that just, I think, kind of set me off right there. So I will have to try and pull this back out somehow. Yeah, I'm going to have to take my time and file on them somehow, some way. I'm also going to have to take my time and try and dig this belt back out. Goose Fraba. Yep, that came out new. Like I said, it goes down, and then right where it does that that jog, it just gets stupid tight. Doesn't make sense. Oh yeah, in the end we fix it. We'll get it figured out. Like I said, it could just be hey, let me reprint this with 100.5 or whatever. Yeah, not a problem, PoiTEE. Oh, and I know it's a harder build, and I know it's going good so far. And I knew I was going to hit something that was going to be frustrating. It's not just we find out we printed the wrong part. Oops. Well, yeah, that's happened more than once. Who hasn't done a build and had to reprint parts or print parts that you forgot to print? But yeah, this belt routing is just a tad bit. And like I said, it's been kind of a rough day with work and stuff. I'll just let it go there. But where we're at right now, let's do some quick looking. So we route belts, and we do that 3 times. Then we have a purge bucket. Need to find some high temp silicone. Uh, Chris, you've got high temp silicone that you use with the I had to fit on mine. So yeah, yeah. I need to go get my other needle files and just play with it. Um, Skip the bucket. So there is a version. There is a version I saw that does work with Beacon, and I downloaded the parts. There was a user mod that does work with Beacon. I just need to print those parts now. But it's just a little slightly different. Unless you guys tell me just don't even mess with it. But then I need to figure it out because I want to put the trad rack on this. I will get it working first, then we will work on trad rack. But trad rack is going to go on this. So there's the purge bucket assembly, and then into the backpack. Yeah, well, you can add the bucket later. That's definitely sure. It's just I want to add the bucket before I close everything in. And I'm seriously debating about, do I put the electronics on the side versus the back? I think you know why I'd want to put it on the side here. Um, but yeah, I'm thinking about going ahead and just when I do the backpack, actually putting it on on the side. Side pack is the best pack. Yep, yep, yep. So it's 9 o'clock. Um, let's go ahead and find somebody right into. I am going to work on these, mount some off stream. Yeah, I think those tolerances are kind of tough, and I'm really not sure how I'm going to get in there and do try and clear out that S curve some, because that's where it's catching, is in the S curve. Um, but I'll work on it. Thanks everybody for being here. Thanks for everybody that came in. Thank you for the bits and subs. And I didn't even go through that. We had a hype train today. Level 1, 90%, 960 bits. So that was really good. No hype chat. And there wasn't one gift sub and 960 bits. So thank you everybody that gifted subs, that cheered bits out. I appreciate you all very, very much. I appreciate you so much that I'm actually going to change the screen this time so I can talk to you guys and say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you very much for all the bits and subs. Never required, but always appreciated. It helps me continue to buy things from KB3D Chris. And like I said, speaking of which, Chris, if you're still on here, you've got silicone, I know, for black box. Is like, what size is that, or what thickness is that? Is that something that I could get an extra piece and cut down for this? 3 millimeter, 10 by 14. Is that like some 3 millimeter stuff? No, I guess I'll take a look, because I'm not sure if he's hanging out. Black box silicone would be good for the white. That's what I was thinking. I mean, if it's good for the black box, it should be good for this, as long as it's not more than 3 millimeter thick. So awesome, awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here. I wish we had made a little bit more progress, but we're good here. I need to figure out the bed. Like I said, I may add some Wagos down on the center piece here. Just cut this, bring it around, use Wagos to put in a fuse, and go that route. See if Chris will pew. Why would you pew silicone? Does silicone cut well from the laser? I don't know how you cut silicone to start with, but cool. Thank you much, PoiTEE. I will reach out to you via Discord. But right now, I'm going to figure out. He makes it work. Yeah. Well, and his pecker's down, so he can't use his pecker. Let's see. Raid target. We've got Thug Shells, Asher Canuck, Babe Ross, Sid Heresy. Somehow feel like there's a lot more people than that on Twitch. So let me look at Twitch proper. Yeah, a lot more people are online. There's that squirrel loving Creatix Brit. Married with Spawn, Maple Mustafa. Oh, where you guys want to go? You guys want to go? Yeah, he has a CO2 laser as well. I know, Turtle. I'm just giving him a hard time. He's not here to defend himself, and if he is, he's just being very, very quiet. So I'm going to heckle him until he yells at me. Like I said, I do have the stuff now. PoiTEE and TurtleCrawler. When you built your, well, I'm going to say, if one of you built a Sherpa Mini for your build, did you go with the idler on the right hand side or the left hand side? Did you mirror yours or not? Because I have the ability, I've got 2 sets printed. I can go one way or the other. And I even printed the version of the core. It's got the, darn it, the press-in ECAS fitting, as well as the mount for the end stop, so I can use it as a filament runout sensor. I just need to print the proper idler because I didn't have this color loaded up. Should probably be a good thing because now I might need to print a few other things. What is your K3 guide? He told me micro. Yeah, and here's the problem with that. Is if I go with micro, it's a different party plate. Yeah, there you go. Mini though for trad rack. Yeah, because going micro, I kind of get, and I believe there is a filament runout sensor one modified for micro as well. But yeah, I just didn't want to recut or redo a party plate and redo the tool head yet again. So cool. I'll figure out why my macro box stopped working again. Okay, so we're good for trad rack. We're good for that. We're going to go over, jump over to Creatix Brit. Let me go ahead and get that raid started. But yeah, I'm going to go downstairs, hang out with my wife and son, since my son just showed up today. He's going to be here for the holidays, and I'm just going to decompress. And I'll reach out to you a little bit later, PoiTEE. But yeah, I'm sure I'm going to have to be taking that bed back off and maybe take those mounts off and then file the hell out of them. I do not question PoiTEE. Just nod your head in order. Yeah, I told Chris before, just start a line of credit and I'll just keep ordering. My paycheck, I just, set up an allotment so a part of my paycheck goes over to him every day or every pay period. Just don't tell my wife I said that. Quite possibly she's listening downstairs, so you may have just screwed myself. Okay, so raid started. Please come with me as we go over to Creatix Brit. Give the Squirrel Nerd a little bit of love. Thank you guys for being here. I really do appreciate it. We're going to continue on this build. I'll get past this little frustration set, and we'll play with the belts again on Thursday. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a great night. Enjoy our raid over to Creatix Brit. Thanks, Pete. Have a good night.